Some of the nation's most elite, most powerful lawyers are right here in Las Vegas.
I don't care who you are. It is your responsibility and privilege to follow the law in this country.
Paul Pata, a former federal prosecutor and rated as one of the top 100 lawyers in the nation by his peers. Christian Morris has already proven her skills in and out of the courtroom.
You've heard from the other side. Now let me tell you the facts. Congressional efforts to take back control over tariffs and foreign policy. After President Trump's much anticipated meeting with North Korean President Kim Jong-un this week, and Trump's efforts to impose tariffs on the European Union and Canada, some in Congress are seeking to restrict the president's powers. Does Congress have the constitutional authority to limit President Trump's policies? Welcome to Vegas Lawyer. My name's Christian Morris. I'm a personal injury trial attorney. I'm here today with Darren Heyman. Hi, Darren.
Hi, Chris.
You gonna behave yourself today?
Never.
No. Darren is an international immigration attorney. I'm also here with Aisha Mehdi. Aisha, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
She always behaves herself. She's a healthcare attorney. We're talking about the issue of limiting President Trump and whether Congress can do it if they don't like what he's done, such as imposing the tariffs, meeting with Kim Jong-un, and realistically, they actually can limit him if they want, right? There is an initiative they could pass, at least on the tariff issue.
Right. The tariff issue they actually gave Trump initially. Congress had that power.
Correct.
For tariffs. And they gave that through a vote to Trump. So now, as you were talking about earlier, whether or not they can impose the reverse veto with a congressional veto where they take that power back, which I think they can under the U.S. Constitution. Whether or not they will or not is, I believe that also requires a 2/3 vote, and I don't think in this Congress they're going to get it.
I don't think they are either. Yeah, so they can basically pass a measure which would limit or veto what President Trump can do, right?
Correct.
But they're not going to be able to do it because they're not going to be able to gather enough people to do it.
Correct.
So let's talk for a minute about these tariffs. I mean, we were talking earlier, you said you don't think President Trump wants these tariffs, right?
Of course. Trump is a businessman. And
Right.
as a businessman, he knows that tariffs are bad for business.
Right.
Because all it does, as any economist knows, it shifts the demand, the supply curve, and what happens is it artificially inflates prices, decreasing quantity sold, and just everybody loses. But what I think Trump's final measure here is, and I think he's done this over and over again, and the fact that people haven't gotten this, especially in Congress, is baffling to me, is he talks a big game, and he uses that as a negotiating tactic. So it brings Canada to the table, because right now Canada is charging American farmers 260% tax on American milk. And he's trying to get all of those tariffs so that basically we have truly free trade between the NAFTA countries, Mexico, United States, and Canada.
So you think what he's doing with these tariffs is a good idea, a negotiation?
I think it's a tactic. I don't think he actually wants the tariffs, but he's willing to play that card if it means the other countries are willing to play ball.
But the Canadian Prime Minister, I mean, he talks a good game.
Of course,
You gotta
so
say
did
that,
Obama.
right? Talks a good game, but doesn't really do much about it. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that. That's
I
what
think
you
that
said.
is what you're
That's exactly what I said. No, 100%. He looks good on camera, and he appeals to socialist masses. So a lot of the world absolutely loves him. And Trump is the big bad guy who is overbearing and alpha, whereas you have Justin, as he refers to him, the Canadian Prime Minister, who seems very beta. And so Trump comes across as a bully. And you have eloquent Justin, I think we can call him.
Elegant and good looking.
And good looking,
right?
okay, and 100%. And these things don't hurt.
No, they don't.
But they certainly, when I think push comes to shove, let's talk about this at the end of the year, and let's see where we actually are, whether NAFTA still exists, and whether American farmers are paying the same tariffs to get into Canada.
Okay, so let's talk a minute too about his meeting with Kim Jong-un. I mean, that was impressive.
Without question.
No, I mean, I think it was one of those things where, I mean, I was holding my breath to see what would happen. I wanted to make sure, everything went smoothly because of the way we know he can kind of be off the cuff, a little bit unexpected. But I mean, it was really impressive that he brought him to the table, that they had that meeting, that everything went as smoothly as it did. And I don't think Congress has any ability whatsoever to limit him in his interactions in doing that. I mean, they should want the president to reach across borders, to get countries to come together, to start communication. I don't think there should be any limitation on it. What do you think of his meeting with Kim Jong-un? Do you think the Congress can do anything to prevent things like that from happening?
I don't know if they can prevent him for that, but I definitely think this is a very good thing. I mean, I have to admit, like, Donald Trump is essentially he has that mentality of a dictator, and he appeals to other dictators in the world, and it's working in our favor. So that's what I'm seeing here, that his persona is actually working for us.
I don't know if that's a compliment.
Yeah, but if you get world peace because of that, great. And amazingly, he may just get the Nobel Prize because of this deal, which would be interesting.
Half of the country would have a heart attack.
Yeah, I think, and then the rest would just stand in awe.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? It's actually someone getting a Nobel Peace Prize for actually doing something. Unlike Obama, where he was given it even though he hadn't done anything yet. I think that's why people would be shocked.
Interesting take on that. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for this segment. Thank you so much for joining us.
But isn't the real issue here? No, the real issue. No. Your cousins would have been losers anyways. Oh! Caused that.
And they cover their face because they're nothing but a bunch of cowards.
So I'm calling bullshit